what we really want to get through with this film is that it can happen to anyone. This isn't happening to bad people. This is happening to good kids. This is happening, they're coming from good families. But once it happens, it doesn't take a long time. It doesn't take a whole lot of time before they're gone. Either they're dead, or they're just not the person that you knew. And then they'll never be that person, because they'll always carry the horrors of the reality that they saw. They'll carry this street life with them forever, and it doesn't go away. It's not pretty.
You tag along with them into this crazy and deep and dark world, and it's weird to know that people have to go through so many difficult things in their lives because of an addiction.
That's the most important part, is getting people to realize how truly devastating it can be for somebody to have to go through that for their entire life, and struggle with it and deal with the family undoings and the life undoing and just all of the challenges that come with being a heroin addict.
We had one addict who was about 20 years old. His name is RJ, and he actually went to school at one of my rival high schools. But he reminded me a lot of my little brother, and just to hear kind of what he's been through in life and how crazy this drug is, and how it got him really young. And it's kind of sad to hear about someone that's kind of put off a really charmed life kind of for something that's so degrading and terrible, really.
So one of the people I've been following is a guy who's pretty much in the middle of his addiction, and he's still using. And so there was one particular night where I was following him, and we were going to meetings and stuff, and he had just relapsed earlier that week. I saw his buddy go into the bathroom, because he had gone into the bathroom like 10 minutes ago, and so I kind of knew something was up. And so I just went in there, and yeah, I mean, he was pretty much just finishing up, you know, getting high.
It was a pretty surreal moment to see how fast someone could fall, and how low they can. I mean, it was like there really was no bottom.
This woman in Wilcox lost her son to the drug, and she was so kind and so honest to talk about the fact that once her son got addicted to the drug, there was nothing she could do. That, you know, there comes a point as a parent, as much as it hurts you, you have to let them go. And just talking with her and hearing a mother who absolutely loved their son say, you know, I saw him when he had overdosed, I saved his life, I gave him CPR twice, and there was just nothing she could do to get him off of this drug.
When you think of a heroin addict, maybe you don't think the best things, but I think it's even harder for a heroin addict to recover knowing the stigma they face in the community.
I think there's a lot of people that have a misconception about heroin, that it's like not a drug people do anymore. But as it turns out, it's coming back in higher numbers than ever before. And it's very important, especially for parents, to realize some of the dangers of even just keeping prescription drugs around. Because prescription drug addiction and heroin addiction are very similar. They're both opioids.
A lot of people get addicted from prescription drugs, and you know, people are prescribed them like it's nothing, and they're basically heroin in smaller doses. I think we got to be really aware of that going forward.
I was assigned to write a story about overprescribing here in Arizona. It's a really big problem that doctors aren't really treating ailments, they're just prescribing pills. And so that was kind of my main topic, which kind of stemmed to people who are getting all these pills are now getting addicted, and a cheaper way and more easier way to get this high that they're looking for is on the streets with heroin.
And that's another thing. I didn't know how cheap heroin was. I didn't know how easy it was to get a hold of. I had it in my mind as this sort of like inner city drug from like on the East Coast that only certain people used, only people from that world used. And it's not that at all. You see it in suburbs, you see it all across Arizona in all sorts of different communities.
I think it's also important for people to realize that heroin addicts are people. They're not just junkies on the street who want your money or whatever. Like, these people have lives and they love people.
I mean, it's so easy just to drive down South 6 and say, oh man, there's another prostitute, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, these are people that have stories, that have families that care about them, that have, you know, brothers and sisters that are wondering what happened to them. And they also have it within them, the ability to turn it around and become contributing, you know, members of societies.
I feel like people forget that these recovering addicts are people themselves, and that, yeah, they had a rough patch in life, but they're doing better now. And you just have to focus on the person that they are now and like see where they're going and the changes that they want to make in life, and that they want to help other people.
And these people, if they don't get help, then those are lives that are lost. That's somebody that could have grown up to be your son's teacher, or somebody that could have grown up to be a nurse, or somebody that could have been the president. And by not being educated about this, you're not able to save those lives.
When you realize that you're being impacted by this issue, by this disease, and you see that it's affecting real people in your community, you know, in your state, in your country, in the world, it's a serious issue. And you know, people need to see that. People need to see that this is a human problem and that it is a disease, and people need to start talking about it. They need to communicate about it.
So maybe by doing this, by reporting on this topic, we'll bring out a better educated society, and maybe we can solve part of the problems that are going on here.